Scars and Spikes, Sydney Hunt, Tommy Moose with you on the day after Atlanta United's season came to an end at the hands of the Columbus Crew 4-2 at Lure.com Field. Tommy is here. Tyler is off. He is away. He will be back with us next time.
What?
But we have a
this
special...
isn't.
Yes.
I thought this was beardless Tyler. This is what Tyler looks like without a beard.
Apparently.
Hey guys.
Apparently. Henry Higuita is with us. How's it going, Henry?
Pretty good, you know. Wish we had a more positive game to talk about tonight, but I am here. Tyler contacted me last night, told me, hey, we're calling you up from the 2's. Really need you because he's going to be out on international break over in Germany. So I'm here. Yeah, so let's...
Alemania. That's how it's pronounced in Spanish, right?
Alemania, yeah.
Alemania. Okay.
I can't say cool things like that. Like with that, like just like goes off his tongue. Like I can't do that.
You want me to say more?
Yeah, I'm terrible. And then whenever a new player gets signed, I can't pronounce their name for like 3/4 of the season. And when I finally get it, they leave.
Yakimakis.
I got that one right.
That's how it's pronounced.
He said, if he scores enough, you'll know how to say his name. He scored more than enough. I know his name.
Now we know how to say his name.
Now I still don't know. Is it Rosetto or Josetu? I don't know. He never scored.
We'll figure it out. Scarfsandspikes.com, patreon.com/scarfsandspikes. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, please subscribe. If you're listening to us after the fact, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you never miss an episode. Patreon.com, I mentioned that, patreon.com/scarfsandspikes, $1.17 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month tiers, 7-day free trial, Discord access, special episodes throughout the off season, and all that cool stuff. So yeah, patreon.com/scarfsandspikes if you're so inclined to support us there. I'm a little heartbroken, guys. We're actually talking about the off season earlier than planned. Well, I guess not earlier than planned because Atlanta United, I don't think was ever going to make a deep run in the MLS Cup Playoffs, but here we are, 4-2 loss to the Columbus Crew. 3 goals in the first 33 minutes. Multi Albinson has a worldie of a goal. Darlington Nagbe, our good friend, scoring, and third goal there, a 4th goal in the first half or second half as well. Atlanta United kind of fights back a little bit to try to get back into it, but ultimately cannot, and their season comes to an end. I guess let's start from the beginning. First 33 minutes, what happened? I mean, season's on the line, got to win. I mean,
well, let me just start.
The way to, go for it.
Well, let's just say the Five Stripe fans, 17s, they showed up. There were about 50 fans in the support.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah. When they announced this best of 3, and you would have told me like in February that I would have gone to all 3 games of the first round, I would have told you you're nuts. But yeah, it was fun. There was nobody there for the first game. Like when I say nobody, like there was like maybe 2 or 3 people up in that section, but it was on a Wednesday. Like nobody was hanging out. Flying in for on a Wednesday. But there were a lot of fans there. It was pretty cool. We were chanting, singing before the game even started. It was a good time to see people travel for it. So the atmosphere was high, and Columbus really knows how to do it. They definitely had a lot of their supporters were loud. I think their chants are stupid. I'll just start there, but it's just like we're not gonna take it, but it's something. I don't know. I kept drinking way too much.
I heard it. I think I heard it last night.
Yeah, it was just silly, but better team, like you said. But yeah, first 33 minutes, it was like I drove 2 hours to watch this. Did this whole playoff series just sum up Atlanta United throughout like the entire season in general?
Kind of. I mean, just a tough start, some promise, and then the tough end, I guess. I mean, I guess in some ways, Pineda said it was an encouraging season. We'll get to that a little bit later on. He said the season was encouraging. He did point out some things with the team that needs fixing that we all agree need fixing. But yeah, I think there's some resemblance. I think the playoffs were kind of a microcosm of the season as a whole. So I kind of agree with you there. But
Good at home,
there,
shitty on the road. Like that's
yeah,
kind of that's kind of how it sums up, right? Like ton
yeah,
of fun at home. Like you're like, oh, like this team could do anything, and then you go on the road and you're like, nope, we're not doing this.
I mean, we already knew the team's road struggles, right? I mean, it was no secret going into this series, and we knew, if Atlanta is going to make it to the next round, to the semifinals, they were going to have to at least win one road game. But yeah, I mean, it's just tough. Last night I was on the watch along with Sydney, and it was not a lot of good energy there, to say the least. Not a lot of optimism, especially after you go down 3-0 in the first half. But I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, yes, it kind of is a demonstration of what this season was for Atlanta United. Conceding early, then conceding late in the half, and ultimately, just a lot of things that have been reoccurring throughout this season and the last season, but that hopefully, the off season, a transfer window or two, can help this team be at least a little bit more consistent at home and on the road, because there are several things that do set this team apart from the Cincinnati's or the Orlandos of MLS at the moment.
Yeah, and kind of going back to Pineda's comments after the match, Felipe, he was telling Felipe had asked him a question. I forget what it is exactly, but Pineda was saying, the team isn't far off, and I feel like the fan base kind of, as this that got tweeted out, kind of pushed back, and I'm like, what is he talking about? I kind of see where he's going with it, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on. Just kind of provide his thoughts after the match, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of one of the talking points, what he said afterwards. But another big talking point, and we have to touch on it, is Brad Guzan. We'll touch on his comments after the match a little bit later on, but I feel like Guzan took a lot of heat in the first half, and rightfully so. I feel like a couple of goals he could have done better on. Nagby, certainly, I feel like, I mean, it is a good hit. I mean, it wasn't the best in the world, but I feel like he could have done a little bit better on that.
From outside the box and not very fast, I think he could have definitely gotten to it. I think there are a few keepers in MLS that could have gotten to it. I don't personally blame him. Sorry for interrupting, by the way. But I don't personally blame him for the second goal. That's just a wonder strike there from Amundsen. There's few keepers that can keep that out perfectly, into the corner. I think the failure there was in closing down Amundsen so that he wouldn't get that shot off, or that at least, like, if he did get the shot off, it'd be deflected or something. But that's just one of the just an amazing goal, and all credit to him for that. And then the third one, I believe that was Matan, I believe.
Yeah, Alex Matan. Yeah,
Alex Matan. It was just he had space in the box, and he took a shot. And that's the thing with Atlanta United. The figure that people like to throw around is the low save percentage. Atlanta United, Brad Guzan has the lowest or second lowest or whatever it is save percentage in MLS. But you also got to realize they have, Atlanta United has conceded some very high XG shots, where the XG on the shot is pretty freaking high, and like at some point you gotta kind of say, okay, are these goals really on the keeper, or is it a more, a defensive issue, a problem with the back line or the midfield, a problem, stopping the opponent from having those high XG shots? I think it's a combination of the two for the most part. But for goals number 2 and 2 wasn't a high XG shot. I think it was like a 0.3 XG shot, but number three definitely was a very high XG shot, and there was no reason he should have had that much space that close to goal, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Pineda kind of hit it. It's like everyone needs to be better defensively. You'll try to stop goals and stuff like that. You say no, it's just not a defensive thing. It's not a thing with just the defenders. Not just a thing with the goalkeeper. Not just a thing with the midfielders. It's something that everyone needs to fix. And I kind of see where he's going there with the possession thing, being strong in possession. Taking care of the ball. Not making turnovers. That's an awful turnover Miles made to get the ball back to Columbus. And Tommy, you're shaking your head. You were there. You saw it.
It's stupid. My wife is not a huge soccer person. She's watched a lot of hockey, but it's the same thing. Get it out of the zone. Get it out of the zone. Clear it. There's no icing in soccer. Just clear it. They just kept playing it back and forth, and it was going across the line. Brad, getting into Brad, then he's passing it, then they're passing it back. You're playing with fire, and you're going to get burned. And it was just back and forth. And then, you finally you have a second to pass it, and you pass it straight to them. It was beyond frustrating.
Yeah.
And just the more I've watched the last 5 weeks, I'm ready for the thank you Miles Robinson tweet. I'm just ready. I'm ready
coming.
for it.
It's coming because I highly doubt that we're going to see Miles ever, put on the shirt again. Because you already have that interest from PSV. His contract's running out. And I think personally, actually, I want to get y'all's take on this. There's been a lot of people going around, social media spaces, Reddit, Twitters, kind of saying, that Miles's head is already in Europe. What do you guys think about that criticism?
Man, I've heard that take too.
Every Saturday on Spaces, that's an advertisement for Spaces. Come on to Spaces, you'll hear about Miles Robinson's head being out of the game. Continue, Cindy.
No, but I would think that Miles is professional enough not to mail him in. I feel like part of that, not all of that, is maybe just a little bit of an after effect of that knee surgery he had last year, his knee injury last year, and I think he's professional enough to not ship out already when the ink hasn't been signed on the contract yet. I think he's gone. I mean, he's gone. PSV, elsewhere, the Eredivisie. I always felt like Dutch league would be probably best for his talents, and Ernie Stewart is building a American dream team or whatever over there of ex-MLS players, not ex-MLS players, but American players. It's like MLS East over there in Eindhoven. But I think if you ask Miles, he obviously will deny that his mind is in Europe already and that he is kind of checked out. That being said, his form hasn't been as good as it's been. And I feel like maybe a lot of that or some of that is magnified because of the overall struggles of the defense. It's easy to pick on one person and point to one person and say, okay, this is bad. This person screwed up. And Miles screwed up on the Nagby goal. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. He screwed up. It's a bad pass. It's a poor clearance, and Atlanta paid the price. I don't think he. I think yes. I think part of him is thinking of it, but at the same time, I think he's professional enough to kind of know that okay, we still got a game to play here in America, and I can't be thinking about my future in another country at this current point of time. So, my 2 cents.
Counterpoint. He has sucked the past 5-6 weeks. I don't know what's going on with him. He started off so hot, right? He came in, you're like, this guy's stronger. He seems faster, right? You're
not allowed to counterpoint, by the way.
Okay.
We're supposed to agree every single thing. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
This is what makes us go. And then we're getting yelled at here that we're an Atlanta United Stan podcast in the comments. No, he at the beginning of the year, it was just it was like, wow, this guy's great. He's performing, better than what we remember of him. And he came in right away. I think we didn't expect him until week 4 or 5. We were kind of setting those expectations, and he was ready in camp, and he looked great. And the openers, and then the silly mistakes have happened throughout the year. And then like you've seen him with different partners, Parada and then Abram. And I don't know if it ever really ended up working with either one of them. The whole defensive side of the ball all season, obviously, when you look at the numbers and the goals against, and Henry, like you said, the XG of shots that have been allowed, it's been a disaster. They had to get through this, right? Like you couldn't sell them, you know. Unfortunately, I know people are still mad that we didn't sell them for anything, but crazy things happen. Whatever, we had to, we letting him go on a free here, but it hasn't worked out. And there's been a lot of mental errors, I think, with him. Some plays where you would say, like, if he was going to be one of the highest paid players in MLS, that he wouldn't be making a lot of these mistakes frequently. I think it's the right choice. I think it's the right choice for Atlanta. I'm glad that he didn't, accept whatever offer was on the table. I think that we can go and find someone else. And, Abram signed long-term. Zilf puts in here, do Miles and Brom communicate with the pitch? Does Miles know Spanish? Didn't always seem like they were on the same page at all. And I also feel like even with Parada, they had some communication skills or communication breakdowns at points. It was, I think, frustrating with him. And I think it's okay to move on from him. And, it's weird how the season progresses, right? Because everybody was like, please don't leave Miles. Let's sign him to a DP contract. Please, please, please. And now there's a lot of people just saying, all right, man, good luck. We appreciate everything you did for us. It's time to go. But, he was obviously going to get some type of pay increase, right? Carlos Bocanegra said there's a contract out there waiting for him. It was going to be some type of increase for sure. But now it's like, even with the increase of what his contract is now, I'm not sure it was worth it at that point. And thanks, Miles. Seriously, like if he had a great career with us, but I think it's time for everyone to move on.
So, Andrew, you asked a question. I mean, what's your response? Do you think Miles' mind was in Europe over the past few weeks?
Yeah.
Tommy thinks he sucked over the past 5 weeks. Do you agree? I guess that's the question.
You don't have to say sucked, but you could say like
you don't have to say sucked.
Well, I will say that he hasn't exactly performed to the level that I think we kind of expected of him going into the season. I mean, we knew ahead of time that he was always going to be the team's best defender going into the season, and I still think he was. But, I just feel like missing that entire, missing a year of professional soccer, almost a year of professional soccer with that kind of injury, it takes a number on you. And he's 26 now, he's in his prime years. That I feel like it did put him a step behind. I still think he was, he had his moments throughout the season, and, you got to give him credit for it. But as to whether I think his head's in Europe, I don't want to say that that's kind of the, oh my gosh, he was horrible because he wants to be in Europe already. No, I think, does he want to be in Europe? Yes, he said that before. That's his goal. And I think everyone expected him to be sold in the winter until, the injury. So maybe he is thinking of, hey, if this PSV interest or, whatever other team has an offer out for him, if that is real and that's a possibility, maybe he doesn't want to necessarily jeopardize that by, injuring himself or exerting himself any further. I think, he put in a great effort throughout the season for the most part. So, and I'm thankful for the time that we got to see him here. He did a great job. He'll always be remembered. And I mean,
club legend.
Yeah, for sure.
Zil puts here, do you think that, or the wrong comment, but he asked if he thinks we would replace him in the winter or the summer. I'm all for. I think they got to. I know we're jumping ahead, but I think they replace him now.
Yeah,
they have.
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
The other comment that Zilf made, and I think y'all touched on this a bit too, is kind of, he says someone better and cheaper. Yeah, that's another big point because Miles, he's being paid right now, I think the highest that you can pay without him being a DP. And let's face it, Atlanta United's not going to make him a DP. They're not gonna do that. You only have 3 of those slots. You know, you're not going to use one on a center back, however good he is. So yeah, I mean, really, his pay ceiling, he's at that already. If you want something more, I mean, he's going to have to go elsewhere. But yeah, I think you could definitely get someone. I don't know if better, but at least around the same level, who you can pay a little bit less, and you don't have to worry about, you know, them wanting DP money necessarily.
Yeah. So I think the big question is, and I see Dan asking saying Mouse has to be replaced in January. I think the question is, you know, does Atlanta United hang on to who they have right now, minus Miles, and then make a play for somebody in the summer? And I think it'll be foolish for them to do so. I think, they have to bring somebody in January. And Hector David Martinez from River, on loan from Defensa, is being floated as somebody who's on Atlanta United's radar. So whoever is, whether that's him, whether it's somebody else, maybe someone in MLS, we don't know. So we'll have to see what happens. But it's kind of switching gears, kind of switching back to the match itself. I feel like, no, but I feel like there was at least kind of a pulse after they went down 3-1. I mean 3-0. They scored kind of late in the, not kind of super late in the first half. I think it was a couple minutes after Metan scored. Yako scoring to make it 3-1. And then Abram missing a sliding attempt that would have made it 3-2. And gosh, if he makes that, guys, it's a whole nother match. I mean, they have tons of momentum. Rossi essentially killed it off in the 47th. Silva's goal was sort of window dressing. But gosh, imagine if that Abram sliding attempt goes in.
The center back
Marcus one where it kind of curved over the net.
Yeah. The one that
was a good opportunity.
Woodwork. Yeah.
They could have, if they were just a little bit lucky, they could have gone to the half tied 3-3, and then it could have been a different game. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, it just kind of sucks that it turned out that way.
I mean, you've done this all year. This was the Philadelphia game, right? Oh, like Philadelphia, we allowed 3 goals in 45 seconds, and then what happens? Then we got to go back and we've got to just crawl ourselves back in. But like in the playoffs, it's very rare that you're able to do that. Playoffs are just something completely different. I don't care what team it is. It's rare. You know, you're up. Columbus was up 28-3, right? Nobody blows a 28-3 lead. I'm so glad I was partying in Columbus because I did not watch the Falcons game.
Low blow, man. Low blow.
I saw the Falcons score right when the Atlanta United game started. I go, oh no, this is just a bad day.
But I mean, they had a response. It was just too late, and I feel like we've seen this from this team. We saw that from this team too much this season. They dig themselves in a hole, get themselves in a hole, and try to respond, try to claw back. But by the time they tried to, it was too late, and that played into the match against Columbus. The match 3 against Columbus. I mean, you can't go down 3-0 in a playoff game, especially on the road where you already struggled to win in the first place. What was it, 4 wins in the last 35 matches or something like that away from Mercedes-Benz Stadium across all competitions? I think I saw the stat. I mean, that's atrocious. It's hard enough to win in MLS. I mean, not using it as a cop out, but it's hard enough to win in MLS. But when you've won, here, I'll go back and pull up the numbers. 3 games this year away from Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you won. Last year, away from Mercedes-Benz, you won twice. 2021. Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
This year you should have won 6. You blew at least 3 in the last couple minutes that ended up being draws, from what I can remember. But I mean, this team sucked at the end of games.
Chicago
That was
comes to mind. Yeah.
first quarter of the season. I think Montreal might have been one. I don't remember. New York. It was one of the New York games. They blew a lead. I think it was
New York City. Yep.
Yeah, that was one
New
of the
York
ones.
City away, Toronto away, where
That was the other one.
lost in like the last minute, basically, of stoppage time. The
Chicago.
New York game at home, but that was a home game. But still, I mean, I think after game one of the series, I was on Twitter and I was like, I just put out a tweet. I said, man, I wonder how many times this team has given up a goal, has conceded a goal in the last like 3 minutes or so of either half. And then Adam John actually replied to my tweet. He's like, hey, so 11 actually. He went and looked and I went and checked. And yeah, I mean, 11 goals this season in the last 3 minutes of either half. And I went and did the calculations. Those goals cost Atlanta 13 points. To put that in perspective, with 13 more points, Atlanta United would have finished second in the East.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
It's the team being able to hold its nerve in those moments. Because, I mean, there were some games where you had the win, and you held on until the very end, and then right before the whistle blows, right before it's game over, and you got those points in hand, something happens. You concede a goal, and then you're left with much less than you wanted and you probably deserved.
Wait, Adam John responded back to you yesterday?
Not yesterday. After game one.
Okay. That they brought that jerk out before the game
don't call him a
started.
jerk. Don't call him a jerk.
Sorry, Adam John.
Former
Sorry.
Love you, Adam. 5 strikes forever.
No. You know what? No.
Oh, come on.
You're not a 5
come
strike
on.
forever. If you come out and you come out pregame for your old team and then go shh, doing the whole shh thing again. No.
You got caught up.
Fool
you got
me
caught up in
once,
the
Adam
moment.
John. Fool me twice. No. He could have been like, no, I'll just come to the game. I'm not going to go taunt Atlanta United, my old team, where I scored maybe a goal or a half at the time in the career. No. I said that with alcohol, many beers in me yesterday, and I'll say it now with only half of one in me. No. I did not need to see. I was walking up the stairs, and I see Adam John on the TV. I thought I was in another universe. I'm like, what is this guy doing here? And then he did the thing. No. See, you had to bring up Adam John, Henry. I wasn't gonna bring him up. And this was a different situation, but Atlanta.
I didn't intend for you to go on that rant, man.
I wonder how Crew fans felt seeing Michael Parkhurst hammer the spike before the last home game at Mercedes-Benz. Or how they felt. I bet
He didn't win an MLS Cup with them,
that's
did
what
he?
ensued that pettiness, where they're like, "Oh, they brought on Parker, so we're gonna bring John." You think that's what kind of what happened with the kids? The whole rumor that Atlanta wanted a 404 kid, and then Columbus was like, "No, we're going black." So you're going.
It is confirmed now. I was confirmed from the front office that that's how it went down.
Wow.
Well, it worked.
I was told by an Atlanta United rep yesterday that's all true.
Well, I guess it worked, and I'm wearing it today, so it can't get much worse. I'm wearing it for the funeral.
Yeah, I get it. I just want to apologize if anybody wanted Adam John on the show at some point during this offseason. I ruined it.
I will say this though. This is the end of the 2-year cycle for these kits. We'll see a new kit in 2024. So the Forest kit will never be worn again on a pitch by an Atlanta United player in an official match, in official capacity. So for those of you who aren't fans of the Forest kit, there you go.
There's a couple in the chat already who are telling me to burn the jersey.
Burn the kit. That's for patrons. That's a Patreon only kind of thing. Let's get to Emilio's question while we're still kind of talking about the match itself. Jay Fortune kind of got forced into the starting 11 due to the Haseto injury. Haseto, who may have played his last match in Atlanta United uniform this past Tuesday, but Emilio asking about our thoughts on Fortune, comments very mixed. I mean, I thought he was okay. I thought, and we've talked about Jay before. I mean, he's still young. He still has a lot of room to grow. I think he was okay. And I think that in that situation, who else are you going to start? You're going to start Sadich, who has barely played. You're going to start Sosa, who's pretty much not in Pineda's plans. You're not going to start Ozzy Alonso. Certainly not. Who are you going to start at that spot? I think Jay did. Jay was good. I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't like an 8.0, 9.0 or anything like that, but he was good. Not many complaints for him, or not many complaints with him. Some moments where he wasn't the quality of player that LA United need to be for him, and that need to be for them at that moment. But yeah, I think he did okay. That's just my 2 cents. I feel like it gets kind of blown out of proportion, a player's performance or lack thereof, in a loss. So I feel like that's part of the reason why some people weren't too high on him. But I didn't have too many complaints with him personally.
He was okay. The
Yeah.
whole midfield of how it was handled throughout this entire season is just very odd to me. Sadich was just continuously playing, basically played Nozetu out of the position for a long time, and then he was, taken to the land of useless toys and never played, and then the same thing with Sosa. Like Sosa just disappeared, and you never saw him again. And I guess you call it you're Marcelino Moreno, right? I guess is that a verb, because that's what happened
was
last
just
year.
thinking that.
Like,
I'm just thinking
because that's 2 seasons in a row where you had some random players that basically, like, and Moreno wasn't terrible, right? Like he wasn't a terrible player. I mean, obviously he didn't really fit what they were trying to do at times, but like he didn't see any time at all at the end of the year until like the last game and a half or whatever. Like he finally saw a couple minutes at the end, but it was super weird on how that was handled. And I feel like Sadich and Sosa were the same way. I mean, Sosa more, because I mean, like he wasn't even on the bench basically to even come in. So at times it was just it's weird. Is that a Pineda thing? Is it just a coincidence 2 years in a row that these players have just been taken out of the lineup? Like, what are you doing with that?
I feel like sorry.
No, go for it. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like it's a thing of you have a limited amount of players that you can put on that bench, and you need to pick the ones that, as a coach, you think are going to, have the best impact for you in any given situation. And in that game, I mean, what were your options in midfield? Sosa, Alonso, Sadich. I think Jay did the best he could of a pretty crappy situation. It's never great when you're being thrown against arguably one of the best midfields in the league. Aidan Morris and Darlington Nagbe are quite the pairing. And it's just, the battle was won and lost in midfield right there. The pressing, it started there. Just Atlanta couldn't adapt to it, and frequently trying to play out from the back. That's what really doomed Atlanta, I think. And that's how Atlanta plays. And I get that they want to play their game, but you have to adapt, man. You have to be able to realize this isn't working. They are pinning us back. They are causing us all sorts of issues. And a lot of it starts in the midfield. You do have Tristan Mayumba. Mayumba's a great player, phenomenal, a monster in game 2. Props to him for that. But Mayumba can't do it alone. And Jay, he's great and all, but he's not a Mayumba. You got to face it. He's still very raw. He's still got a lot of developing to go. But some positives, I will give him credit. I did see him, he had a lot of energy. He was running around. He got a few good recoveries. His pressing was pretty all right. I have to give him credit for that. And it was a playoff game, not an easy game to come into when you're not a regular starter for this team. It was his, first season with Atlanta United, and he had to start in the biggest match of the season. So props to him for that. He deserves a lot of credit for that. And, I can't wait to see what he can do next season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with both of you on Fortune. And he said, Henry, he's kind of thrown into a situation where it was unfamiliar, a bit unfamiliar. Granted, he started match 1, but overall, it's a bit of an unfamiliar position to have him start. And again, I mean, it's kind of forced into it because of the Haseto injury. Haseto didn't even travel with the team. I mean, he wasn't even in the team at all. But Fortune, did his job. He just had 3 starts for the team in 2023, and I believe that doesn't count playoffs. But yeah, he rarely started. But in the time that he played, I mean, he showed promise throughout the season. So that's a player that could be, and I think we've talked about this before, it could be one of those players that can grow in prominence for Atlanta United. 20 years old, going to be turning 21 in December 30th, by the way. So, like you said, Henry, he's raw, and he's got to grow some, both, mentally and technically. I think he will. I think he still sees time with MLS Next Pro here and there, just to kind of get him some playing time that he would otherwise wouldn't get. But yeah, he was good. Just good.
I mean, you got to keep in mind he's only 20. He's still got some years before he hits his prime. I think you've got some time to really get him there. But I think if he keeps it up at this rate, I feel like in 3-4 years he's going to be an important player for this team potentially, or another team if he ends up going to some other team in MLS.
Don't say that.
I know, but
too early for that.
you just want him to do the best that he can, because he's a great guy. I've talked to him a few times. He's a really cool guy. Just you want the best for him.
Good.
We talked about this in Spaces, and I can't say enough of how important I think it was that Atlanta United won Game 2. Now going to this, and I know there wouldn't be no Game 3 if they don't win Game 2. But you saw the promise of what this team can do, right? In a playoff game, you saw Pineda win a game. I know they didn't move on, but he won a playoff game, which is something which he hasn't really done, right? He hasn't done. Because if he would have gotten swept, we were on Spaces last night. People were ripping this team up at points and ripping Brad up and Pineda, obviously. You saw what this team is possible. You saw Pineda win a game when it was a must win. I don't know. I can't get past that enough, because I think we're in a different area at that point. I know Columbus is the better team. I get that. But if we would have came on last week and we would have said 2 losses, I think that a lot of people would have felt very different about this offseason, specifically when it has to do with Pineda. Not the players, with Pineda. You just lost to a better team on the road. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you won the game that you were supposed to, right? A lot of teams can't say that. There were teams that, that got swept, right? That lost at home. That's okay. But you won that game, and you won it convincingly, right? And the fans were there. Fans were hot. People are going to remember that game, I think, is the last home game, and still have some hope for Pineda. I know there's going to be people that absolutely hate Pineda, and if you do, that's fine. I understand. You don't want him back. But I think
our fans.
No, none of them. But I think that people understanding, hey, there's some promise here. He doesn't have to go. That we could still win with him. We'll see. But I thought about that last night. It's important.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of segues into what was kind of on my mind, and we mentioned the quote kind of on the top, Pineda saying the team isn't far off, the team isn't far away. They're not very far. And I know that kind of fired some fans up because I feel like they were thinking, we just lost 4-2 to the Columbus Crew. We went down 3-0 33 minutes into the match, and you're saying we're not very far. And I can see where fans, especially those who want Pineda gone, are going to take the cynical viewpoint, right, and say, he's full of crap. I mean, I don't think he is. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't all bad. It wasn't a complete loss of the season. How many of you said they won a game that he needed to win? They did what they needed to do to force a game 3, and there's no shame in saying that. Yeah, like you were saying, Columbus is just a better team. I mean, Cucho Hernandez, it could have won MVP. I mean, he could have been the MVP candidate if not for the season that Lucho Acosta had, if not for the season that Thiago Almada had. By the way, Thiago Almada, a non-factor, is so disappointing, especially in the game of that magnitude. And we didn't get on that, but it's very disappointing from Thiago. But Cucho, a top player, Nagbe, a top player. Morris, when he's not on the ground rolling around like he got shot, is a top young player in this league and could be a national team player, U.S. national team player before you know it. I think he's a U.S. youth international at this point. I feel like Schulte in goal, probably not the best keeper, but they have a decent defense behind them. Matan, the veteran of the league. Rossi, a veteran in the league before he went to Turkey, before he came back. But he's built the winning team with LAFC. So this was a team that was built by this front office, has a coach in Nancy that, Tommy, you said they're your dark horse to win MLS Cup, I believe. And it was surprised me to see them there. There's no shame in saying that Columbus was a better team. At the same time, it's not the question to say that Atlanta United, with a good transfer window, with some decent pieces, some good pieces, with some renewed players in the defense, with Miles being gone, a new number 6, and some nips and tucks here and there, are a much better team than they were this season. And Pineda said, the philosophy won't really change that much. This is still going to be the same style of play that we had for the past couple of years. Nothing's going to change in that regard. And I think that's a good thing. Yes, the loss is disappointing. The end of the season is disappointing, but yeah, I think he's not wrong in saying that the team's close, And yes, I think he'll be back next season.
Yeah, he doesn't go anywhere. You've got a base, right? And that's what the salary cap isn't an excuse. The team put themselves in this, right? They put themselves in this situation of the past couple of years. So you have to understand, like, when we say salary cap, it's not making an excuse for the team. I mean, it's obviously the front office has screwed up over the past couple of years on how they've built this roster and put themselves in this situation. But you've got an opportunity, and we'll do that in an episode probably in the next couple of weeks, hopefully before they release all their, who's leaving, so we could do some predictions there. But you've had these you don't have the depth like other teams do that have some really good players that are coming in, and you're going to be able to have the opportunity to bring in other players. But like, you've got kind of a base, right? You've got your striker, you got Saba long term, Miumba's here, you got both wingbacks are going to be here, right? Abram's probably going to be here, and then you got some questions, right? But now you got salary cap space, more salary cap space to spend, and you're a lot of the people on your bench are U22s. You're going to be able to reevaluate those positions. I mean, Mascara, depending on what they want to do with U22, he had zero value, legit zero value coming back from this team. And look what he did to himself. He has skyrocketed himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
To there. So whether Atlanta wants to keep him or, move on and to free that spot up, like, that's a good situation that they put themselves in here. I feel and we said this on Spaces yesterday, like how I felt on decision day last year was there's no hope for this team for a while, right? Like Joseph was sitting there saying, go talk to them if I'm going to be back this year. All the fans were fighting whether Joseph should have started his last game. Like we were in shambles until, the rumors start happening. Garth Lagerwey might be leaving. Oh, really? And he could be coming to Atlanta United. It's like, that was the first time we were all like, we might be back, right? Like we might be on the path back to figuring things out. And now, like this year, we're like, yeah, we got a solid base, and now you got an analytics team, you've got a scouting team, you've got a president that knows what he's doing. You've got proof of concept in this last transfer window that you brought in good players, and you've shopped in different areas. You didn't just shop at one country. You went international, baby, and you went everywhere to find these different guys. Like you've done. I think it's time to trust to see what this front office can do. My only comment here is that we can't be waiting to sign all these guys last minute. These guys need to be at camp. They need to be at the start of the year and get them together, because you don't want that excuse. And people say it all the time, like, Pineda says people got, what'd they say with Etienne? Like, oh, he was hurt during camp, and that's why it was like hurting him early on in the year. Dude should have went to camp because he did nothing the entire season, right? Like there was just nothing that he did. So they've got to figure that out. Get everybody in early, because Giakoumakis, I know that was a whole saga, but man, we were waiting everywhere. I mean, we were on visa watch. We were sending Henry down to the visa border. I don't know, Homeland Security to get Giakoumakis's card. And I mean, it was ridiculous.
Rush shipping.
We need to get right. You need everybody here at the beginning to do that. So rumors are already starting, right? I think we're going to be okay. I think Pineda's right. I think we are. That was my long answer. Sorry, I'll hit mute now.
And I think I'll let you jump in here in a second. I think that's the caution of firing Pineda, because if you do that, you have to reset everything. You have to look for a coach that fits your technical plan. You have to reset who you're looking at, who you're bringing in. Do they fit with the new guy? You're going to have to maybe change your philosophy. If not change your philosophy, I already said it, make sure that who you bring in fits what you're looking for. Pineda wasn't brought in to be a 2-year guy. He was brought to be a little bit of a more long-term guy. And I don't think Atlanta United is going to be the team to cut loose a manager after 2 years again, or see a manager leave after 2 years again. Tata left after 2 years. De Boer didn't last 2 years. Heinze didn't last. This feels like 2 weeks. But yeah, I feel like Pineda is their guy. And if they come into 2024 and you don't see significant progress compared to the players that they bring in, I think he's gone. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Pineda, you have a coach that his philosophy is very much one that Atlanta United has really embraced throughout its history. One of exciting attacking soccer, and the kind of stuff that fans pack the Bens to see. And I think we're getting back to those principles with this combination now of having Pineda and having this front office that really trusts him and gets him the players that are necessary for this kind of system that he runs. I know people really like to. It's very easy to blame the coach after a loss, but I feel like everything really isn't on the coach, y'all. The coach has in much truth, the coach has a very limited control over what happens in a game. Like, what does a coach do in a game but choose a starting 11, the subs, and then just lets the players do what they need to do? He doesn't control the players. It ain't FIFA. But
Phil Jackson, Chicago Bulls.
But
or LA Lakers.
But I think
God.
Pineda, the players like Pineda. The players, you see them at the training ground. They're all happy. They're excited. They feel for the club. One thing that really sticks with me is Yako's quote. I think, I don't know if it was after after the Cincinnati game or after after one of the games, where he just said, I effing love this team. And, that's where, when you have this team with that much passion, they respect the manager. Like Pineda knows what he's doing. And, people criticize, he's been here 2 seasons. He hasn't, 3 seasons now, 2.5. But look at what he's managed to do. In 2021, he picks up a team that was not doing great, gets them to the playoffs. They earn the most points out of anyone in MLS through the second half of the season and get themselves into a playoff spot. They don't win their playoff game, but they got into the playoffs, a feat in and of itself. Then year 2, you have basically half the team in the hospital, and that's just a freak of nature there, where it's completely out of his control, and he had to do the best of a crappy situation, and things didn't turn out well. Crap hit the fan, and you go into this year where now they are in the playoffs, and they win a playoff game, and although yes, it wasn't the best season that we've seen from Atlanta United, I think it is a testament to Pineda and the front office and all of this just starting to work. You're seeing the fruits of this club's labor. You're starting to see the bigger picture that Garth is talking about, this slow progress. And I think we're not, I agree with him, we're not far off in from being that competitive team. And I think next season is one to really watch out for, one that people are going to be excited for.
We're going to get blown up for that take. All 3 of us are going
to
get
we
blown
are
up for a
we
take.
are.
And I was kind of half joking with the Phil Jackson thing. I mean, I know it's like more than that. The triangle, he had the triangle office all that. He also had Michael Jordan. He also had Scottie Pippen. He also had Prime Shaq, Prime Kobe. So I feel like there's credence to the fact that it's more so the talent you have on the field than it is your tactics or style of play. But I mean, it's true. It's true. Now the question is, what talent does Lagerwey bring in on top of who they have, who they have brought in over the summer? And Bruno saying in the chat, we have Barry. So I'm not really sure we're counting Barry in that.
Don't say that.
Sorry, Bruno. Bruno, you're out.
Bruno's
it's been a good season.
Bruno's banned from our podcast.
Put the thank you, Bruno graphic up. Thanks, Bruno. Emilio will show you where the papers and
the shadow realm
are. Right. We got to hit on this real quick. We touched on Guzan a little bit earlier, and I guess we'll kind of wrap up with this. His comments, he is obviously, Doug asked him in the press conference, are you coming back in 2024? And as to be expected, Brandon, they answered right on. They said, I have to talk to my family, got to talk to the club, and all of that. Fair. I didn't expect him to say yes or no in the press conference. I mean, if anything, I expected to brush it off. But I mean, he didn't say yes, but he didn't say no, but he didn't say yes either. And I think I said earlier, in the earlier episodes, like, I feel like it's 50-50 that Brad is back. If he is back, I think Joe Patrick was tweeting it, that he comes back, but LA United brings in another number one. The contract is going to be painful for 2024. It's going to be a lot of money. Tommy disagrees with
for a backup, like paying Guzan that much money for a backup. Ugh.
I'm just saying. Don't shoot the messenger. But
thanks, Joe Patrick. No, I get what he's saying. Like, that'd be gross to go bring someone else in. Then Like, does Brad? I don't see Brad Guzan being like, yeah, man, like you're gonna sit on the bench. Cool. I'll mentor him.
Look at it this way, though. If you bring in a younger keeper to play under him, maybe a cup goalkeeper, well, you're pretty much paying the same money for the combined contract, aren't you? Let's say you bring somebody in 80, 90,000 or something like that. I mean, you pretty much made the same thing you would for the two players anyway. So, but I mean, to that point, Tommy, I don't know if Brett Guzan was going to be a backup. I think he'd much sooner ask for a trade to another team where he can kind of round up his career. Maybe Chicago, go back home, maybe for one more year, and get maybe a little bit of GAM for him. But I don't know. I'm still saying 50-50. Bruno's saying the Hayes is still a free agent. I mean, it's possible.
He can't stop a penalty either.
Hayes said he wants to play in MLS. Just putting it out there, but
oh boy, Jesus. Man,
Yes,
Adam John comments. Rocco Rios Novo comments out here. MVP.
Congrats to Rocco Rios Novo, by the way, for winning the USL championship last night. Last night.
Yeah.
Stop the winning
penalty. He didn't come up short last night.
Stop the penalty. So good for him.
Tommy, I
laugh at my short joke.
Good joke. Is he back next year?
I'm never coming back on this show again.
Henry is banned from Scars and Spikes.
At least he didn't bring Barry up.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think, though? Do we see Brad Guzan back in 2024?
I mean, he's under contract. Unless he decides to retire, which is entirely a possibility. He's 39 now, which is wow. He's up there. But
I'm 39. Do you mean I'm up there too?
Soccer wise.
I'm just messing with you.
But no, I mean, I just think, it's up
older.
to him how he feels, if his body can keep up with it. If he feels like he can continue playing at this level, and he stays on, I think he is still going to be, the captain, the team's captain. He's still going to be the starting goalkeeper. And if they do, I'm still thinking the club goes and gets what will be the potential future number one of the team. I still think, Brad, out of respect, they're going to want to give him sort of that benefit of the doubt at first, at least, until whoever this new number one is comes in and really, proves that they are the better option. I don't know, but ultimately, I think, if you're looking for the Josh Cohens, the Ethan Horvats, I highly doubt that they're going to want to come into this team to sit on the bench. So I'm interested to see who they're looking for, what kind of goalkeeper they're looking for. But yeah, I mean, as Guzan, ultimately that's a choice for him. He's always going to be remembered. He'd be one of the last remaining members of that championship team, along with Robinson, who we've already said is kind of leaving. So, fond memories there, but I don't know.
My only thought process here is who's the buyout? This is a different front office. No one has allegiances to Brad Guzan. I felt like Darren Eales and Carlos together. I feel like they held certain players on a little bit longer than they should have, but it was because they brought them on. Garth Lagerwey is a businessman. If he decided that he wanted to use the buyout on him, sure. I still think it's Etienne. That's my opinion. I don't. It's crazy because such a highly touted free agent, and but it's a lot of money. And everybody was yelling at me to start the season, or midway through the season, like, because it's just a fun topic to talk about. Who's your buyout, right? It hasn't changed for me since mid-season. Like, guy hasn't done anything for this team, and I don't see it getting better. And if you're looking to maximize your salary cap, I think it has to be him. And if you hold on to Brad for another year, it is what it is, right? Hopefully you build up a better defensive midfield, a center back pairing that can work better together, and you don't give these opportunities, you know, to go even the shots onto Brad, right? And just hope that things could get better. I think that's probably their plan here, which I would think. And again, that's if he stays. He's had 2 major injuries in 2 years. Who knows what ends up happening here? It's a flip of a coin for me right now. And I think it's if he wants to come back next year, I think that he comes back. If he wants to retire, cool. I still see that he works here in the front office or as a coach and starts that path, because I don't see that he would like to walk away from the game. Just the vibes that you get from him is that he loves this game a lot, and I can't see him just walking away from it. And if that's what he has to do, cool.
Real quick, because Bruno's asking in the chat, Justin Garces in 2024 or elsewhere?
I mean, if you want a succession plan there and Brad's there, give him some opportunities in other competitions, and maybe have him do a spot one here and there and see how he's doing, and see how he's doing in practice, and maybe you give him a break, right? There's a midweek game, we got a Wednesday game. Let's start him. Let's see what he has.
Don't hate it. What do you think, Henry? Justin Garces, 2024? Yes, no?
I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be a good idea to at least have him on the goalkeeping roster for the first team. Even if you're not gonna count on him in like a starting capacity necessarily. I agree. Like if you have a midweek game, you have an Open Cup game, something like that, a congested fixture schedule where you can put him in, see how he does, and kind of give him a taste of the big leagues there. I think he's done a great job with the twos, and I think he definitely deserves a shot. But we'll see. I think Tommy, to your point earlier, I think the first issue that this team needs to solve is not conceding so many opportunities that will turn into those high XG shots. Not letting working on that defense so that the opponents don't get those very easy, well, not easy, but very high probability shots. But yeah, I mean, Garces, I'd be all for seeing him with the first team.
I'll throw this up there real quick. Bruno in the chat, who's been very active in the chat tonight or during this episode, saying if you can picture Brad making commercials for Viagra or reverse mortgage, then you believe Guzan should be retired.
What's it called? Shave Club? Just make it smooth. Make it smooth like Brad.
Something like that. I think that's a good spot to end, yeah?
Yeah, and real quick, Sydney, I know I did this rant yesterday on Spaces, and I was going to wait for Tyler to be here, but we've got a lot of people here live. I just want to thank everyone for hanging out with us all season, whether it was Spaces here or watch-alongs on Patreon. I think we kind of pride ourselves in being the interactive podcast of Atlanta United, and being an interactive show. We would suck if it wasn't for all of you that listen. Right? It would just be us going back and forth, and just thank you to all in the chat and the Spaces. I when I ended the Spaces yesterday, I looked at my wife and I was like, "It's over. It's just over." We got to wait till February now, and it was sad, but seriously, thank you to everyone all year for hanging out with us, and Henry for putting up with all my bad jokes and making fun of you all year.
Not easy.
Yeah, now and then we got to sit next to each other, so we become. I'm your big brother now.
To paraphrase Kelly, Kelly Clarkson, our show would suck without you. So, thanks everyone. We really appreciate.
Sure.
it.
I don't know those lyrics, but sure, I agree with you.
I don't know how I know him.
We'll trust you.
I don't know how I know him.
I'm more of a Katy Perry person, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I kissed a girl and I liked it. Hit the music. Let's go.
Before I do, which would echo echo Tommy's message of gratitude. It's not been the best season. It's not been a great season. I mean, it's been an okay season. Atlanta United did make the playoffs, but fortunately, the season is over. We're not going anywhere. We'll be back from time to time on YouTube, on Patreon. Be sure to follow us on our socials. I'm at SH Rights. Tommy ATL 86. Tyler's at ATL Pilgrim. Henry, you'll see him writing for us from time to time on our website. He's at HA Hagita. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We'll be back.
We got a lot of roster talk. We're gonna make it fun.
Yeah,
we'll make it fun, interactive. And Henry, you already started a good thing on Twitter. If you haven't checked out Henry, he started a voting thing about best players and things like that. And we were planning on doing something similar. So we'll have to have you back, and there'll be some fun discussions on what we think the roster is going to be, what best moments were, all that fun stuff. So yeah, well, don't leave us. We'll still be around weekly for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We know there are some questions about rosters, whether XYZ will get back next season. What about XYZ player? I mean, we didn't get to on this show, but we'll definitely have plenty of time, like Tommy said, to talk about them. So definitely stay tuned. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you haven't already. And with that, now we can hit the music for the final time.
OnlyFans.com/scarves and spikes.
No. Patreon.com/scarves and spikes.
Bye, y'all.
Nobody wants to see feet pictures of me. Nobody wants to see feet, Tommy.
No.
Okay, fine.
No.
I'll start my own.
I think I speak for everybody.
Scarves and feet.
Good.
See ya. No,
feet and spikes? Feet and spikes? No. That'd be weird. Huh?
Yes. Thanks,
Dirty feet soccer?
Scarves and spikes in German with Tyler over in Munich.
See you guys.
See ya.